On today's Pedone My Take, we are going to be chatting live, one-on-one, with Dr. Jesse Morse from the fantasyfootballdoctors.com. Dr. Jesse is going to break down Nick Chubb's MCL injury and the severity of it, something new that we're trying out on the show, getting a real sports medicine practitioner on the pod. I'm going to recap Browns versus Cowboys, preview Browns versus Colts, quickly whip around the entire NFL, and give you my takes on all of the trends and all the happenings around the world of sports. So let's do it, because Pedone My Take is presented by my friends at dugoutmugs.com. Ding dong, the tribe is dead, and Dugout Mugs are here to help us drink our sorrows away as Cleveland Indians fans. You guys always see I've got my bat mug with me right here on set, and you can get yours too. They take real, actual baseball bats, the barrel of the bat, they hollow it out and turn it into the perfect beer mug to watch the Cleveland Indians off season and get us through this tough patch as Tribe fans. To get you started, the crew at Dugout Mugs are going to give away free knob shot glasses to my listeners. I got one of those little guys right here with me. They take the knob of a baseball bat, hollow it out, etch that Cleveland Indians block C on it. Super cool. Get those while you can for free. All you have to do is visit dugoutmugs.com/Pedone to get started with your free knob shot. All you have to do is pay that shipping and handling. They sell those bad boys at the team shop in Progressive Field for like $25-$30. You can get yours to your door for $9. dugoutmugs.com/Pedone, dugoutmugs.com/Pedone. That's the way to get into the dugout. I'm in the dugout. You guys see I got my mug here. Carlos Santana is in the dugout. If you buy this one with his signature etched onto it, you get a free Carlos Santana signed picture. Can't beat it. dugoutmugs.com/Pedone to get you started. Let's do it. Well, folks, the Cleveland Browns are America's team, and this is what we deserve. Kevin Stefanski, he looks like the real deal, everybody, and I was cautiously nervous about this hire. I was team Josh McDaniels all the way. I was curious as to how the Browns, how Jimmy Haslam, how Paul DePodesta could keep a guy in the facility for 10 hours, allegedly, reportedly fly his wife, fly his kids to Cleveland for this meeting. To hire Kevin Stefanski after all that seemed to be going so incredibly well seemed like such a head scratcher. But here we are, sitting at 3-1. For the first time after one of the most exciting games in my young life, in my young sports media career, and so many other of my peers' young lives as well. Because the Browns have life, and they proved on Sunday that they are America's team. Nobody's talking about the Cowboys. People are talking about how bad the Cowboys' defense looked. How about this? How about the Browns' offense looked even better? And Kevin Stefanski looks like the real deal. When's the last time we've seen a coach on the sideline show this much composure? When's the last time we've had a coach that doesn't give us t-shirt material every press conference after the game, win or lose? This guy doesn't ride the highs. He doesn't get bogged down by the lows. And he is the exact mature, grown-up leader that the Cleveland Browns need. How about Baker Mayfield? We haven't heard a peep out of the guy. He told us today to wear our masks because he wants to keep the season going. And we're going to get into the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to solve their coronavirus situation a little bit later in the show. But Kevin Stefanski has these dudes reeled in. What he said at the beginning of the season about personality is welcome, but production is required, is holding true in Cleveland in 2020. And that's the first time that we've seen personality and production be linked together and have this much fun in our football team in a long time. And there's a lot of folks out there that are having fun and that are nervous by this fun. Browns fans, don't be nervous. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like to have a grown, mature adult as the leader of your football team. This is what it feels like to have a superstar wide receiver with superstar running backs. And we're going to get into Nick Chubb's injury with Dr. Jesse Morse in a second here. This is what it feels like to have a number 1 overall pick pan out and to have a franchise quarterback. Don't be nervous. Don't overthink everything. Don't overthink your fandom, because this is what it feels like to be a football fan of a real football team. They're giving us a reason to watch every Sunday. They're giving us a reason to have fun every Sunday. It sucks that we're in this goofy coronavirus world and we can't fully enjoy it. But as fans, as media, as supporters of the football team, we need to sit back and enjoy this, because they're 3-1. And I know people are going to be in the comments. As always, tweet the show at Nick Pedone 12, at Pedone My Take is the best way to reach me, and say, Nick, they played the Washington football team. They played the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cowboys defense isn't that good. This week, we see what's up with the Colts. They have a real defense. Come on, they're beating up on the bottom barrel of the NFL. Really? Are they? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-0, and they're at the top of everybody else's power rankings right now. Steelers 3-0, pretty good. The cumulative record of the teams that the Pittsburgh Steelers have played in those games, 0-9. So don't tell me that the Browns have beat up on the bottom of the barrel and then prop up the Pittsburgh Steelers in, the official power ranks that you see on the big networks, ESPN, ABC. They all got the Pittsburgh Steelers up there because they're beating up on nobody. Put some respect on the Cleveland Browns, because they're 3-1, and we haven't had this in a long time. Kevin Stefanski, real deal. He's getting the ball into the playmakers' hands. He got too complacent there in the middle, and he let the Dallas Cowboys right back in that game. We can't give him a free pass for that, but what we can say is the guy's a rookie coach, and he clawed back. That's a game that Freddie Kitchens, despite that huge lead, would have lost. That's a game that Hugh Jackson, despite that huge lead, would have lost. When the Dallas Cowboys were trying to draw the Browns off sides so they could get the ball back when that game was getting tremendously close, the Browns didn't jump. They're a disciplined football team with a rookie left tackle, and they didn't jump. They're starting to do things the right way. Freddie wouldn't be 3-1 right now. Hugh wouldn't be 3-1 right now. Coaching matters in this league, and that's the good thing. Obviously, there's concerns on the defense, and we could get excited and we could ride these highs, but we can't get too caught up in the good that we forget about the bad. Andrew Sendejo, we haven't forgotten about you, 23. You really struggled. I am curious, where in the world is Sheldrick Redwine? Where in the world is Ronnie Harrison? At least he played a little bit on Sunday. We gave up a 5th rounder for the guy, man. I'd like to give him a crack at free safety. I just don't know how Sheldrick Redwine, who you invested a mid-round pick in just last season and who cracked the rotation last year, is worse than Sendejo. And I love, we do this in Cleveland, and I think other fan bases do it too, where we find a defensive player and anything that goes wrong on any play is automatically that guy's fault. It held true on Sunday. Sendejo did find a big play and he punched the ball out, but still he got torched on 3 tutties. So yeah, dude, everybody's going to be mad at you when you go out there and you get torched on 3 touchdowns. He's been frustrating. We need to figure out the defense. There are some injury concerns, but listen, the Colts have injury concerns too, and that's what's keeping me optimistic about all this. And trust me, we're going to get into all of that because the Browns are back. I'm riding the highs like you all should. We got David Njoku off the IR this week. That adds a weapon, in my opinion, in the receiving core. Before we get into all of that, though, we have a guy going down to the IR. We're not going to see Nick Chubb for 3 weeks at minimum after the MCL injury. And we have nobody, you can't find anybody better to talk about it, because to talk about the Nick Chubb injury now is a licensed sports medicine doctor, provider for fantasydoctors.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jesse Morse joins Pedone My Take to give us the rundown. When can we see Nick Chubb? Here he is. Dr. Jesse Morse joins the show. Okay, so joining me now is a sports medicine specialist and provider at the fantasydoctors.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Dr. Jesse Morse joins the show. Doctor, how are you? When you saw Nick Chubb go down, man, what was the first feeling?
So I'm doing good. I was I kind of knew what he had right away. Thankfully, I thought it was a little bit, it's going to be a little bit less than it was. He got a little unlucky, but it could have been a lot worse. The nature of his injury was very similar to how Michael Thomas actually suffered his, in that he basically wasn't even in the play and he got rolled up on. And unfortunately, when he got rolled up on, his knee twisted really hard. And a lot of these guys are huge, especially the linemen. So the amount of force that went into the lower leg ended up twisting his knee really good. And he unfortunately suffered what we call an MCL sprain, which is a sprain of the medial collateral ligament, the ligament that runs north to south on the inside of the knee. Very common injury traditionally to running backs, actually, because they usually get tackled on the outside of their knee. And as a result, the knee flexes inward, and that's the ligament that prevents the knee from collapsing. Well, if the force is great enough, the ligament usually has a tendency to buckle at its weakest point, and depending on how severe the damage is, it can be anything from a mild injury to a severe full thickness tear.
When this happens, does it typically take 6 weeks? A 6-week recovery time is kind of what's being reported on for Chubb. Is that typical for an MCL sprain?
It depends on the severity, and it also there's a lot of factors to it. So first of all, severity. Second of all, I think position plays a role. Third of all, what they do for a living probably plays a role. And then how aggressive the treatment is. So you have three options. You have a grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3.
Okay.
Grade 1 is going to be a very mild sprain. A lot of these guys will even go back the same week or maybe miss a week at the most. Grade 2, which is what he suffered, think of it as a piece of paper. Essentially, if you're ripping that piece of paper in half, that would be a full thickness tear. That would be a grade 3. Those need surgery. If you beat up a piece of rope, that's more of a grade 1, but it's not completely torn. And then if you partially tear that rope, but there's still a piece of that rope attached to a bone or whatever you want to talk about, that would be a grade 2. So it depends on the combination of exam, ultrasound can be very helpful, and then MRI. Those three techniques will be able to determine the severity. And then it also depends on where it's damaged at. Is it the ligament starts above the knee on the inside, it runs through on the inside of the leg and then attaches below the knee, and the middle of it also happens to attach to the meniscus. So you can injure it at any of those three spots, top, bottom, or middle, or you could obviously have multiple. So depending on where it gets injured, will also determine on how quickly you want to come back or have the player come back, because the importance of him being a running back versus, say, a DB or a linebacker is that he needs to be able to cut and be decisive and comfortable in his decision making. And if he can't do that, then he's not going to look very good. Well, the MCL is the main ligament that is going to prevent your knee from allowing you to rotate one way or the other, in addition to both the ACL and the meniscus. While everything, the knee is like a concert, it has to have everything working well. The MCL is very commonly injured because the guys are getting tackled on the outside of their knee, and that's the ligament that takes the biggest beating. To give you an idea, this is the same injury Raheem Mostert is dealing with the 49ers. His probably isn't as bad. I would say it's probably a moderate grade 1 or early grade 2, whereas Chubb's is probably a pretty severe grade 2, maybe almost a grade 3, which is not super common, but happens. The other issue that we can suffer here with is if you return too quickly, you're going to increase your risk of re-injuring it, and then further increasing your risk for not only tearing the ACL, but also tearing the meniscus as well. So you have to be careful. A lot of the running backs will notoriously have MCL injuries because of the nature of their position and what they're asking their knee to do over and over and over again. So for a grade 2 and a running back of his caliber at his stage of the career, You want to make sure there's no scar tissue developing. You want to make sure that the knee is strong, and playoff implications, if that were to be seen, you have to take that into consideration as well. So you can't rush him back and then say you lose him for another month or two and it derails your season. So there's a lot of factors that go into whether or not this guy's going to be out a week or this guy's going to be out 6 weeks. By weeks, there's a lot of moving parts, as we saw with someone like Julio Jones last night, who said, I'm fine, fine, I'll miss a week. That was last week. I want to come back. And then not only does he come back, but he re-injures his hamstring in essentially the first half, and now he's probably going to be out a couple more weeks. So these athletes always want to play, but they don't always know what's best for them in terms of their injuries. So you have to kind of protect the player from themselves, essentially. These guys, if you use the right product with the right technique, you can get them on the field faster. But they definitely have to go through the rehab to make sure that you're not only re-strengthening it, but you're preventing it from happening again, because you're expecting him to basically push it once he gets back in the field. You don't want him to have any limitations. So I think returning in 6 weeks is very realistic, assuming he doesn't have any setbacks and no other injuries between now and then.
A guy that has been dealing with injuries, we saw the abdomen surgery during the offseason, dealing with a groin injury now, is Kareem Hunt, and he's going to be expected to take on a lot of the workload here in Cleveland. What do you think is going on with Hunt? He was limited on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys, and do you think he's going to be healthy enough and his body is going to be able enough to take over this advanced workload here in Cleveland?
So Hunt looked actually pretty good. I caught some clips of the game, but the game wasn't on here in Miami. But so groin strains are very tricky. They are very uncomfortable, and they traditionally take a couple weeks to heal. We're talking at least 10 days, closer to 15 for most groins, whether it's a grade 1 or a grade 2. Grade 3s aren't very common. So he'll look better this week, and then assuming he doesn't have any setbacks, he should be closer to 100% in a couple weeks.
Cool. That's definitely good to hear. Doc, I got to ask one last question before we get you out of here. Grant Delpit, our rookie from LSU, he was one of the best defensive backs in college football. In training camp and practice, tears that Achilles, which is sometimes a kiss of death for these defensive players. What's up with that? And do you think that there's any chance that Grant has a chance to return as the player that he was during his college days?
So Achilles tears are not quite the death blow that they used to be. It depends on a couple different factors. One, it depends on the position they play, the age that they tear it, and the procedure that they actually do on it. While you can't, if you're a regular Joe Schmo working a 9 to 5, you could probably get away with actually just doing rehab and not repairing it surgically. When you're talking about a high-level professional athlete, the rehab alone without surgery is not going to be enough. There's a newer technique that's been around for several years now that it has really good results. It's described as a PARS, P-A-R-S, and it's essentially where the surgeon goes in and he or she puts in several guard wires through the Achilles, one on each side to kind of stabilize it. The issue with the Achilles is that about two thumb widths above the heel, there's about an inch long area that does not have a good blood supply, and that's traditionally where it tears. And the issue is it's eventually a big piece of rope that is no longer one piece of rope, it's two. So the problem is you need to put that rope back together and then rehab them. So we've seen several athletes return. Emmanuel Sanders came back from one. Richard Sherman, who's banged up right now, but he had bilateral tears, and it was later in his career, and he's still playing. So it's no longer the death wish it used to be. And especially since he's a younger guy, these younger guys have a tendency to heal a lot better in your early 20s, and if you're in your late 20s or early 30s, that decade makes a big difference. And the technique's getting better and better. So overall, I think that it's hard to say, will he ever be the exact player who's going to be before that injury, but he has a chance to fulfill 80, 90%, depending on the different factors involved.
Cool. Well, we can't wait to see Grant get back on the field here in Cleveland. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the tweets yourself. We cannot wait for Nick Chubb to get back already, and we still got 6 weeks to go. Doctor, you put out a ton of great stuff on your Twitter, on your YouTube. What's the best way for people to track you down and find all your great stuff out there?
So our website, thefantasydoctors.com, has kind of everything in one spot. If you want more direct access or personalized stuff, we have a Patreon site that you can get through the website. And then I do a lot of my stuff on Twitter is kind of the easiest way to find me at Dr. Jesse Morse, DrJessEmorse. And then we have an Instagram as well and a couple other mediums, but Twitter is predominantly where I'm found. We record a weekly podcast and a bunch of individual videos like the Nick Chubb one you're referencing. And I try to do updates. The injury list is crazy right now, so it's kind of hard to keep up with, but I try to hit the big name injuries as much as I can.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. Great stuff as always. And thanks for joining the show.
No problem. Have a nice night. Take care.
Great stuff there from Dr. Jesse Morse, man. Got to feel a little bit, smarter anytime you talk to a licensed medical professional. Definitely feel pretty smart after hearing from him. Great stuff there about Nick Chubb's injury. Great stuff about Grant Delpit's injury at the end. For those of you that are just tuning in, make sure to catch it all on demand at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Pedone My Take to hear Dr. Jesse Morse's full interview. Fantastic stuff from him. Great guy to have on the show. Let's get right into this because Sunday the Browns host the Colts, 4:25 p.m. I hate these later games. I just have to say, I think they are the biggest nuisance because it's 4:25. It's right in the middle of your day. It's not dinner time yet. Lunchtime's over. You hopefully got some chores done in the morning, but you wanted to watch the 1 o'clock games for your fantasy. Then you were nervous throughout all of them, not only because of your fantasy, but because then your actual team plays at 4:25. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the 4:25 games, especially when they're at home. I get they have to happen sometimes when you play the West Coast teams. Goofy. Obviously, as Dr. Morse said, Nick Chubb is out. MCL sprain, could be a grade 2, possibly even a low grade 3. Not good to hear. He'll be out for a while. So look, the Browns still need to win this game, and Kareem Hunt is going to be a big factor in that. I feel like as Browns fans, we've gotten a much bigger dose of it this season than what we had last season. But Kareem Hunt, the pass catcher, does a lot more than Nick Chubb, the pass catcher. And I feel like we could be fully acquainted with that this week. I do need to give big props, big shout outs, big love to D'Ernest Johnson. One, D'Ernest Johnson is a football name. When he was born, his parents said, D'Ernest Johnson, you're going to be a football player. And he grinded through the AAF, and now he's in the NFL, and look at that, he's a football player. That's a football name. I love that name. But that dude's a baller, man. He runs hard. Like, he was the lead workhorse on his team in the AAF, and I would expect him to do the same thing, on Sunday with the Browns, be able to keep up that snap count, keep Kareem Hunt healthy and a little bit rested with that groin injury. I gotta say this. The Colts are a little bit fraudulent. And I know some of you probably clicked on this show to hear me talk about that. I tweeted about it a little bit, teased that I was going to get into it a little bit. The Colts, man, I'm not buying them because you have to play the same game that we're playing with the Browns in. Look at who they played. The Colts faced Jacksonville week 1, and they lost to Jacksonville. They lost to Gardner Minshew. Jacksonville is actively trying to lose, and the Colts lost to them. Okay, not a good look. They beat the Jets and the Vikings just like everybody else. The Vikings are missing Stefanski. The Jets stink. They're without Sam Darnold this week. Like, the Jets are a dumpster fire. They're going to fire their coach. And then they barely beat the Bears last week. So I look at this Colts team and I say, this is another winnable game. We were all fired up and we were all, full of excitement about the Dallas game because that was a super fun win. It was a win that not a lot of people picked the Browns to win, where before it felt like, okay, they beat the Washington football team. They were supposed to do that. Okay, they beat the Cincinnati Bengals. They were supposed to do that. Then you play the Cowboys and people start picking against you and you win that and kind of put the NFL on notice. You really want to put the NFL on notice. Go 4-1. Beat the Colts. The number 1 defense, even though they played Gardner Minshew, who nobody knew who he was last year. They beat the Jets, who Sam Darnold's been a mess. The Vikings, who are a mess. And the Bears with Nick Foles. Really? The Colts D is overrated. All those offensives suck. And we haven't even talked about the Colts offense yet. Phillip Rivers was great in his prime. Now, I would take a local kid at the YMCA playing 8th grade football to throw a ball a little bit further than Phillip Rivers. His throwing motion at this point in his career is one of the ugliest in the league. The guy has a really hard time throwing that ball. And I hope I'm right about this. I hope he doesn't torch my favorite team, my favorite corner in Denzel Ward on Sunday. But you look at their roster head to toe, what's there to get excited about? A rookie running back, Jonathan Taylor, who was great in college, hasn't done anything yet in the pros. T.Y. Hilton, I mean, okay, what's he done with Phillip Rivers yet? Zach Pascal, I know he's been good. He's been better, the last few games, but really, are these the guys we're going to get excited about? Not to mention, the Colts could be without their starting left tackle. We always know that's a huge plus. That's a huge plus for Myles Garrett, who's been on an absolute tear. 3 strip sacks in his last 3 games, looking to make it 4 strip sacks in 4 games on Sunday. If he does that, that would be phenomenal. Myles Garrett is quickly and easily becoming a fan favorite here in Cleveland, and rightfully so. The dude's a beast. He gets that ball out so easily, and I'm so excited to see what he has in store on Sunday, especially if the Colts are without that left tackle. Colts also could be without their 2 starting linebackers, and with that said, they're going to have to call somebody up from the practice squad because if I recall, they only had 2 or 3 other active backers available on their depth chart, on their active roster as is, so they're going to have to make some maneuvers and call some people up if that linebacking situation stays true. So to me, if you're Kevin Stefanski going into this Colts game, what you got to do is just stick to your guns, man. You know what works. Just stay with it. You lost Nick Chubb. It's a huge blow. Not only on the field, off the field. They talked about that the last couple days, what a leader Nick is and everything like that. Quiet, silent, goes about his business type of guy. But to me, you stick with it. You run Kareem Hunt, who led the league in rushing as a rookie. You run Dearness Johnson, who really hasn't made one error yet in a Cleveland Browns uniform. That's counting for his time here last year and his time here this year. You run Dontrell Hilliard in spots, and you stick to that identity. You let Baker Mayfield make the easy throws. You get Odell involved early and often. You find Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, your bigger tight ends, especially without Kadarius Hodge now, who is also put on the IR for the Browns. Those tight ends are going to catch a lot more action, no pun intended, in the receiving core. I think there's a lot to be excited about on Sunday because I look at this Colts team and I question where the firepower is going to come from. On Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys, that's kind of all we saw was firepower, right? We saw 3 touchdowns from Odell. One was a passing touchdown from Jarvis. We saw Dak Prescott, who's their star, throw for almost 500. CeeDee Lamb, their first-round rookie, caught 2 touchdown passes. Nick Chubb was a beast. Kareem Hunt was a beast. It was all superstars on display on Sunday. And that's how you win football games. Or that's how you win games in sports. We're watching the NBA Finals, Heat Lakers, Anthony Davis and LeBron versus Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero. The stars need to step up and play, and they did on Sunday for both teams. And I think they're going to on Sunday for the Browns again. But I look at the Colts roster, and I say, where's it going to come from? And on the same token, as I was talking about last week, you don't let this become a trap game, because it easily could. I said last week as well, good teams, they don't have trap games, right? Good teams go out there, the games that they need to win, the games that they should win, they win. So even though the Indianapolis Colts have Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, a rookie running back, T.Y. Hilton, who's old, injury prone, and could be a little bit washed at this point, and Zach Pascal, no big name guys to really get you excited about, get the national audience pumped up about for a 425 start. Don't fall into that trap because you have Odell, because you have Baker, because you have Kareem Hunt, Jarvis, Hooper, Myles Garrett. Don't be drinking the Kool-Aid, because that's what you did against Tennessee last year. And to me, this seems like that game last year. Obviously, that game was bogged down because of the penalties. The Browns looked like they, were reading too much into their press clippings. And as it turned out, that game turned to be, a telling point of what the whole season was going to be like with the Browns. Obviously, it's a completely new team now. It's a completely new team than we saw week 1 against Baltimore. And this is going to be the perfect test, because that Colts D is good, even though they've played bad teams. It's a better defense than Dallas, it's better than Washington, and it's better than the Bengals. So it is a test, but on the same token, it's a good chance for Baker Mayfield to prove that he can win without Nick Chubb. Throw those safe checkdowns to Kareem Hunt, to Dearness Johnson. Let those guys churn on their legs. Get Odell and Jarvis going with Hooper, Harrison Bryant on some quick slants in the middle of the field, especially without 2 starting linebackers. That'd be huge. Big chance for Baker Mayfield to have some people start putting some respect on his name too. People are saying it's just Nick Chubb, it's just Kareem Hunt. They're letting Baker just be a game manager. All right, Baker, here's your chance. No Nick Chubb. Banged up Kareem Hunt with a groin injury. Keep making those safe throws. Don't turn the ball over. And the Browns are going to be in this game. We're going to pick all of the games next on the NFL Whip. But, man, this is a good chance for the Browns to prove that they are America's team, go to 4-1, and really, in a sense, change that narrative that has been written because of the bad taste that everyone had in their mouth from last season, and go into Heinz Field in Week 6. And if you're 4-1, going into Heinz Field in a divisional game, we know Baker rises up for those. There's a lot to be excited about. We'll get into that. Quickly, I want to talk about this NBA bubble. Ratings have been down across the NBA ever since the bubble started. NBA Finals ratings are super down, 55% from last year. When the bubble started, I loved it, and it was a lot of fun because it was the only thing that was going on. The MLB couldn't figure their stuff out, and it was ugly what the MLB had going on over there. Everybody was peed off at the MLB. NFL was still getting their stuff sorted out. They had their, player negotiations. The CBA got signed, so things were kind of murky over the NFL. The NBA had it figured out, man. They got all these guys back from coronavirus into a bubble for a super neat 8-game play-in tournament. And then it went kind of left on them because it's gone on for too long. You watch the NFL on Sunday, we look at Jerry World. The Browns set the record, Browns-Dallas, this week on Sunday for the amount of fans in a stadium this season. You look at different stadiums around the league that are letting fans in, then you watch an NBA game, and it kind of feels like you're watching like a summer league scrimmage. And it feels kind of weird, and it just feels like it's gone on for too long. And I know there's people on Twitter that say, oh, well, people only feel this way because, the social justice, they're kneeling for the anthem. It says Black Lives Matter on the court. They got the goofy name jerseys with the last name on the back that are tremendously busy. Like, that turns a lot of people off. And I see that argument. I hear that argument. But if you're a fan of the sport and if your team is involved in it, you're going to watch. Whether there's protests that you don't agree with, if there's protests that you do agree with, for different causes, what have you. If you're a fan of the sport, you're going to watch. I don't think that all is affecting the ratings. I think this bubble has just gone on for too long. We're supposed to be getting ready to watch a brand new season of basketball coming up, and instead we're just wrapping up this current season. Hockey, in my opinion, did it the right way. They jumped right to the playoffs. Like, hey, Cavs, hey, all you other teams that were invited to the play-in, an 8 seed doesn't defeat a 1 seed anyways. Sorry about your luck. That is how it kind of is anymore. And we'll see you guys next year. We're going to wrap this up so we could get to a next year. So I think that's kind of the problem that the NBA has going on right now. Obviously, super solvable. You play next season. You get it back to normal with teams in their respective markets. I know they kind of want to maybe bubble up again, do maybe a couple different bubbles throughout markets, maybe get some real fans in there. That'll definitely make it feel more normal, because right now it feels apocalyptic, and people are sick of apocalyptic. People are sick of the coronavirus. They're sick of hearing about it. They're sick of seeing it. And that's why the NFL is doing so well, because they're kind of bringing our lives back to normal as much as they can. But the Titans are in some deep doo-doo. We're going to get into that right now, because it's time for a super new segment that I'm trying out this week called the NFL Whip, which is presented by BigPlay.com. Big Play, your number one source for live interactive sports talk almost every night of the week now. New shows coming all the time, man. Huge shout out to Nick Paulus, Kevin Arnold, the guys of the Voice of the Land podcast starting up with us, coming up here real soon. Give them a follow at BigPlay_com. Best way to have all that interactive sports content right at your fingertips all the time. NFL whip time. We're going to whip through the NFL, give you my predictions for the game. Obviously, these predictions are going to be 100% correct. If you're in a pick'em league with your friends, these are the teams that you want to pick. I'm not going to screw these up. So you guys are going to want to hold me accountable. You're going to want to make these picks and have some fun with me here. So let's start it. Obviously, we're going to do the Browns prediction last. Let's start with Thursday night football. Buccaneers versus Bears. Tom Brady versus Nick Foles again on national TV. By the way, I didn't mention this NFL whip, 15 minutes or less. So we're going to go rapid machine gun fire on these picks, baby. We got Nick Foles. We got Tom Brady back on national TV. Give me the Bucs in this one. Big. I know the Bears have looked good. They were hanging in there with the Colts, who we play this week. Foles kind of reignited them. Not so fast. Old Tom showed his true colors in week 4. He's still the GOAT. Give me the Bucs in that one. Let's get into the Sunday game. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Bills, Titans in Tennessee. This is going to be a great game if it gets played. The Tennessee Titans, what are you doing? Comes out that they broke COVID protocol. We know their game last week got postponed due to the coronavirus. Now they've really pooped down their leg here this week, because when their facility was shut down, a bunch of players got together and worked out. Now coronavirus is running wild through their building. This game could get postponed. I know a lot of people are begging for the NFL to bubble up. Here's what you need to do. You need to make the Tennessee Titans forfeit this game. The rest of the teams, they're social distancing. They're following the protocols. When there's a case tested positive, that guy and everybody that they've come in contact with goes into quarantine. The Titans didn't do that. In fact, they did the opposite. They insulted Roger Goodell. They disrespected the Shield. They take this kind of stuff very seriously in the NFL. The Tennessee Titans should be forced to forfeit this one, and the Bills should be granted the win. Let's head over to Texas, where Bill O'Brien was fired from the Houston Texans this week. What? You fire your GM, you fire your coach, you play the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. Romeo Crennel makes his head coaching debut in Texas. Give me the Texans in this one. I think the players are really going to respond to the Texans ownership by firing Bill O'Brien. I got the Texans in this one over Gardner Minshew and the Jags. We're going to see a historic tank race this year for Trevor Lawrence. for Justin Fields, for Trey Lance. There's a lot of bad teams in this league that need quarterbacks. Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they have a quarterback. I'm a big Minshew guy. I think they're going to try to be right in the heap of this, and I think the Texans are going to step up. Give me the Texans. We go to Sunday, AFC North. Baltimore Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow got his first win last Sunday. Too much Lamar Jackson, too much of the Baltimore Ravens D. Give me the Ravens in that one. That's all that needs to be said there. Here's a coach that's going to be fired going Sunday in Atlanta. We got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers. Good game. Teddy Bridgewater and that run game. Mike Davis has filled in for Christian McCaffrey quite nicely there in Carolina. That Falcons defense looks really bad. They're 0-5. Here's your chance to right the ship. Julio didn't practice, but Calvin Ridley didn't even get but one target on Monday Night Football. Short week. Give me the Falcons in a surprise win at home. High-scoring affair. People are going to say Dan Quinn is back. Give me the Falcons in this one. Then we go to Kansas City, Missouri. We got the Chiefs. We got the Raiders. Chucky, I don't know what's going on with you, man. You spend a lot of high draft picks on players that aren't performing that well on the defensive side of the ball. Damon Arnett, yet to be seen, dealing with a thumb injury. Too much Mahomes, too much Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs here. We go to New York, to MetLife Stadium. Boy, is it good to be right. I love nothing more than I'm right. And Sam Darnold looks like a bum. Greg Williams in that Jets D looks like a bum. The Cardinals versus Jets. Cardinals have been rough. Don't get me wrong here. But boy, the New York Jets. You got to think about firing your coach, your defensive coordinator, and being in that mix to draft a quarterback number 1 overall. Give me the Cardinals. Give me however many other points they're going to be favored in, because the Jets are a dumpster fire. We go to Heinz Field for an interstate matchup of Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philly Eagles. Pittsburgh 3-0. Eagles looking to get back on track, even though they're up atop that NFC East, which is a dumpster fire. Give me the Eagles in this one. I am picking the Steelers. Carson Wentz gets things back on track with Big Doug Peterson. I think they got something good cooking there in Philly. It just got off to a slow start. Pittsburgh hasn't played anybody, and this is the week. The Browns, the Ravens, Pittsburgh, all big games, all a chance to keep winning, make that AFC North the dogfight, and I'm looking forward to it. We go to Washington, D.C., where the football team plays the L.A. Rams. I think the Rams are kind of shaping up to get back into Super Bowl form. Sean McVay hates wearing his mask. He needs to get that sorted out and keep that mask on. Man, you saw Bill Belichick on national TV. He had a mask and one of those pull-up masks. He had 2 masks. Sean McVay, you could put a mask on, dude. I know you're a good-looking guy, youngest head coach, handsome. Wear the mask. Rams are going to win this one regardless. We go to San Francisco Bay Area, 49ers and Dolphins. More Ryan Fitzpatrick, because the Miami Dolphins refuse to start Tua Tagovailoa. Give me the 49ers. Give me CJ Beathard, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, whoever they're going to get out there, because the Miami Dolphins are right there in that tank race, man. They're looking for Trevor Lawrence. Or they're looking for that Penei Sewell. They got Tua. I don't know why you're not trying to win some games. I mean, maybe take a left tackle. Who knows? We go to Jerry's World. Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants in the Big D. Give me Dallas in this one. The New York Giants are an equal dumpster fire. They hired Freddie Kitchens as their tight end coach, and obviously the tight end coach isn't the one calling the plays, making the decisions. He didn't hurt Saquon Barkley's ACL. Give me the Cowboys in this one, and screw Freddie Kitchens. We go to Foxborough. Patriots hosting the Denver Broncos, and whoever they decide to trot out there at quarterback. Even if Brian Hoyer starts, even if Jared Stidham starts, I got the Patriots in this one. Too much Bill Belichick versus Vic Fangio, who could be on the hot seat, man. I think they could try to pair Drew Lock up with the new coach. Give me the Patriots. They're at home in Foxborough, even without Cam. Best wishes to him as he deals with the coronavirus. We go to Sunday Night Football. The Seahawks host those Minnesota Vikings. Let Russ cook, man. 2020 is the year of Russell Wilson. I know that Miami Dolphins game in Miami got weird. Seattle had to travel across the country during a global pandemic to play that game. I think Seattle's legit. I love DK Metcalf. I love some of those other goofy receivers that they got there in Seattle. Pete Carroll is 100 years old, and he's still an offensive mastermind. Give me the Seahawks in that one. Close game, though. Then we go to Monday Night Football, and the Is Drew Brees watch continues as the New Orleans Saints do battle with the LA Chargers. Herbert versus Drew Brees should be a good game, should be a shootout. I'm going to take the old Wily vet in Drew Brees with that one. I think the Saints win, probably getting Michael Thomas back this week. Man, you pair Drew Brees with Michael Thomas, with Alvin Kamara, even Emmanuel Sanders in that mix. That's a lot of offensive firepower. Give me the Saints there. And then we go to Cleveland, Ohio, 4:25 on a Sunday. How are the Browns underdogs in this game? 2-point underdogs at home against the best defense in football in the Indianapolis Colts. Give me the Browns. Give me the points. The Browns are going to win this football game, improve to 4-1, and put the league on watch as they head into Heinz Field. I got the Browns winning this one 31-24. 31-24 with the Browns win on Sunday. Give me a hell yeah there. Woo! All right, man. That was the NFL Whip. How about that? We cranked through the entire Week 5 in under 15 minutes. If you guys had fun with that, let me know at Pedone My Take, at Nick Pedone 12, because I'm winded. That was a lot of picks. That was a lot of takes across the entire National Football League in under 15 minutes, but that's how we do it here. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. What a fun hour. Huge shout out Dr. Jesse Moore, taking time out of his day, rearranging, jumbling his schedule with some sports athletes with some patience to come on the show, talk to us about Nick Chubb's ACL. Great stuff from him. Again, if you missed it, make sure subscribe. That's a way to get the updates about this show on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Just search Pedone My Take. That's all you got to do is subscribe. Even bigger thanks to Dugout Mugs, man. I'm in the dugout. They want you to be in the dugout with me. I got my Tribe mug on set. You could pop a brew in one of these and you could cope about this Indians offseason. It's going to be a long one. This team is going to look a lot different in 2021. So grab your Dugout Mugs now. And yeah, we're going to be in that journey together with Pedone My Take, with Dugout Mugs. DugoutMugs.com/Pedone. That's DugoutMugs.com/my last name, Pedone. And you're going to get yourself a free knob shot. $0. Just pay the shipping and handling. Get this knob shot to your door for free at DugoutMugs.com/Pedone. Next Wednesday, let's do this all again. Same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to do this all again. Subscribe to Pedone My Take on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We're going to preview the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers live next Wednesday. Huge game. You don't want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. And as the Browns chief of staff, Callie Brownson, said, it's not about the number of breaths you take. It's the number of moments that take your breath away. Go live your life. Go have some fun. Love you guys so much. Bye.